On today's Solo Sunday News, Drew McIntyre said to be furious after the Royal Rumble. Did we just see the biggest shock in Royal Rumble history? Several major surprise returns take place at the Rumble, and WWE will be going head to head with AEW Dynamite on a weekly basis. Hello and welcome to WhatCulture Wrestling, the Solo Sunday News. Myself, Andrew Pollard. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. I hope you've had a great Royal Rumble weekend so far. Me, I love the Rumble, man. Forget WrestleMania. The absolute highlight of the pro wrestling calendar for this guy is the Royal Rumble. So many great moments over the years, so many great memories. Hey, let's forever shine a spotlight on the exceptional all-timer of a cell job from Bret Hart in the 1994 Royal Rumble, because it's a Sunday and I'll obviously take any chance I can to make mention of the Hitman. But while I'm happy to talk about Bret Hart, and while I'm happy with how the 2025 Royal Rumble PLE played out, one person seemingly not so happy is Drew McIntyre. Now, for Drew, the men's Royal Rumble, he entered the number 17 spot, got around 27 minutes, eliminated by Damian Priest, scoring 0 eliminations himself in the process. Now, following the Rumble, PW Insider reports that McIntyre was not a happy man when he got backstage, screaming and cursing and ranting about somebody who had to get their moves in. Now, there is no word, as of this recording at least, anyone on who that person is. But PW Insider also notes how there were several stories planned for the match that were ultimately ignored in favour of this. Now, the outlet reports that something went awry with McIntyre's elimination from the match. And I'm sure this is something that we'll be hearing a lot more from in the coming days, especially with this report. It does say that Drew left the arena well before the main event finished. The main event, of course, being the men's Royal Rumble. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard some stories of a pissed off Drew McIntyre venting backstage and then hastily making his exit. I mean, you go back to Survivor Series 2023 after the return of CM Punk. There were reports there that Drew was not a happy man and that he left the arena. Now, that was kind of, at the time, those reports, it was kind of like leaned into anyway, should we say, by certain WWE talents about not wanting CM Punk back in the company. Now, that was a kayfabe sense, and also for some of them in a very real sense. So we'll have to see what comes of this latest incident. Maybe it's a work, maybe it's leading into something, or maybe Drew McIntyre was just genuinely upset at something that went on in the Royal Rumble, something that maybe went wrong, and seemingly was not happy with someone in the men's Royal Rumble. So yeah, this is one to keep an eye on, I think, in the next couple of days, because I mean, yeah, stories like this, they don't come about for no reason. So we'll see how this one develops. Now, speaking of the men's Royal Rumble, did we just get the biggest surprise winner in the event's history? I reckon so. I mean, yes, your men's 2025 Royal Rumble winner is Jey Uso. Yeet. Yes. Now, full disclosure, when it came down to the final two of Jey Uso and John Cena, I thought, there was me, highly caffeinated this morning. I'm at that weird mixture of, like, I've had a big breakfast, so I'm full and sleepy, but I've had a shed load of caffeine, so I'm wired to the moon. And this is what you get, I'm afraid, on a Sunday. But yeah, when it came down to Jey Uso and John Cena, it was like, to me, it's like, oh, this is like the most predictable Royal Rumble finish imaginable. Because let's face it, big match John, he's going to seal himself another WrestleMania main event. It's going to be him against Cody Rhodes, him against Gunther, both viable, realistic opponents for Cena. But nah, to the surprise of me, and pretty much I'm sure everybody else watching, main event Jey Uso shocked the world and earned himself a WrestleMania main event. I mean, you look back at Royal Rumble history, what other winners match this in terms of just the sheer shock value? I mean, you can maybe, I guess Big John Studd was a bit of a surprise back in 1989, mainly because he wasn't Hulk Hogan. Everyone assumed Hulk Hogan would win that match and do, Hulk Hogan things. Hogan must pose. That was very much that era. You had the double winners of, I mentioned him before, Bret Hart. A lot of love for the Hitman always. And Lex Luger in 1994. That was a surprise purely because it was just such a unique situation for two people to win. Other than that, I mean, Chris Benoit, 2004, maybe Alberto Del Rio, 2011, maybe a bit of a shock. But then those two were kind of both on the cusp of that main event scene. So it wasn't really that much of a surprise in hindsight. Could you say that Vince McMahon was a surprise winner in 1999? Probably not, because, I mean, you've got to consider that Vince McMahon was in the biggest story in the company, that being the rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin. But for Jey Uso to win in a field that included John Cena, CM Punk, who was my pick, Roman Reigns, I thought if you were going to get a surprise winner, and I say surprise quite loosely because he's a very established talent, my surprise winner, my dark horse, I guess, if you will, would have been Seth Rollins. I mean, then you could have CM Punk beat Gunther for the World Heavyweight title at some point between now and Mania, setting up a Punk and Rollins rematch at WrestleMania. How wrong was I, though? I mean, we could be getting, who knows, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns in a triple threat at WrestleMania 41, because that's very much the cards are at play there with how things developed at the Rumble. But anyway, back to Jey Uso. He entered at number 20, put in a solid 36 minutes or so, scored 3 eliminations, those being Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, and then, of course, to win the match, John Cena. And it was great, man. It was refreshing. It was just one of those moments where you left, genuinely, I was lying on my sofa. I wasn't even sitting. I'm not going to pretend I was sitting. It was like 5 in the morning at that point, lying on my sofa and just had like the mouth dropped and like, oh my, words I cannot say on this stream. My cat was very surprised too, I will add as well. But I mean, what this does do though, because nobody picked Jey Uso to win the Royal Rumble. If you did, good on you, Us, but I don't think many people did. But what this does do though for me is it kind of adds a little bit to what we've seen recently with and why Jey Uso lost to Gunther recently again, and it was made such a big deal of that Jey Uso just cannot beat Gunther. I mean, that was at the Saturday night's main event, the most recent Saturday night's main event. You've also got Jey coming up short against the Ring General and the King of the Ring last year. Also came up short when Gunther was the Intercontinental Champion, and they've very much been hammering home that story that Jey Uso, he just cannot beat Gunther. So I mean, yes, of course, Jey Uso could choose to go after Cody Rhodes for WrestleMania, but the story is right there for me where you've got Jey Uso to once again go after Gunther, only this time, finally, to get the better of Gunther on the grandest stage of them all. That story there writes itself. I mean, it's an interesting one. And like I said, refreshing is the word for me, because so often Royal Rumbles can be very predictable. You can have really good Royal Rumble matches while also being predictable, as in like, that was a really good Rumble. I enjoyed that. There was lots of surprises, lots of shocks, lots of fun action, but we always knew it was going to be so-and-so was going to win. But with this one, it's refreshing. Refreshing is the word. I mean, on the other side of things, someone else who has themselves a WrestleMania title shot and won, let's say it was a little more predictable. Yes, Charlotte Flair is your Women's Royal Rumble winner 2025. Many had presumed ahead of time that, yep, Charlotte was going to return to action at the Rumble and get the big win. And she did do that, eliminating Michin, Piper Niven, Nia Jax, and then finally Roxanne Perez. Roxy got herself to the final 2. And now, of course, people have been speculating about this match for a long time already, but now even more people are predicting that, yep, we're going to be getting Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania 41. I mean, that Charlotte win, it didn't come as much of a surprise, let's face it. But the Rumble itself, there were several surprises dotted across the Royal Rumble in both the Rumble matches, but more so in the women's match. Now, let's stick with that for a second, because the biggest surprise for me was the return of Alexa Bliss. Michael Cole even referenced recent reports online that, yeah, Alexa Bliss isn't coming back to WWE. They're in this kind of impasse. They've been talking about the return. They can't agree on the terms, blah, 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 blah. Alexa wants a new deal. WWE wants to bring her back on her existing deal. It's not going to be happening. She's not going to be part of the Rumble. She's not going to be back for the last store for a little while. But no, here we are. Alexa Bliss, yes, is back in WWE, was in the Royal Rumble. There was also an appearance from Nikki Bella. I mean, that was something that had kind of been rumored, let's face it, in the last week or two. So, and also reports that Nikki Bella was going to be coming back to WWE for another run, not just a cameo Rumble appearance. So, yeah, that's one to keep an eye on, whether Nikki Bella turns up on Raw tomorrow night. Maybe she pops up on SmackDown, or maybe this is just a one and done appearance. Who knows? But also there was the appearance of Jordynne Grace. Again, not so much of a surprise as such, because not only was this rumored, but it was also, Nick Khan revealed last week, this past week, that yes, Jordynne Grace has signed with WWE now, that she's departed from TNA. But Jordynne Grace was still just about a surprise, I guess. She got a very, very solid pop here from the Indianapolis crowd. And Jordynne Grace, man, she looked like a star. She is a star. She's going to be such a big deal for this company. And yeah, for those thinking like, oh, she'd be really good in NXT, yes, she would, but no, make no mistake about it. Thick Mama Pump is going to Raw or SmackDown, and she will do very well for herself. There were a few NXT surprises. Speaking of NXT, there was Lash Legend, there was Jada Parker, there was Stephanie Vaquer, there was Julia, and as mentioned, there was Roxanne Perez, although I wouldn't say Roxy was really that much of a surprise. I mean, she is pretty much a shoo-in at this point to move to Raw or SmackDown imminently. I think, before WrestleMania, she will be on one of those brands, and very well deserved. On the men's side of things, if you're looking at surprises, I guess the biggest one was I Show Speed, who was a replacement for Akira Tozawa. got like 1 minute in the match, eliminated Otis with Bron Breaker's help, but then got dumped out by Bron. But I'll be honest, I have zero idea who this fella is because, hey, I'm no man. I do know that IShowSpeed Speed is, he's a bit of a big deal in terms of streaming and other online BS. But yeah, way, way, way over my head. Other than that, somebody clearly said his name because TNA World Champion Joe Hendry was part of the men's rumble, who was eliminated by Roman Reigns. That was a nice little fun one to see. I mean, again, though, Joe Hendry was someone who many predicted for the Royal Rumble, though that did not make it any less fun when he popped up. And the crowd, again, gave him a very, very decent reaction. Other surprises for the men's rumble, I guess the only other one, and again, it's not a massive surprise, was the return to action of AJ Styles. Yes, the phenomenal one, P1, is back. Haven't been out since October, I think, when he came back, had that match against Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown, got injured, and then has been on the shelf. So yeah, AJ is back. And he got like 20 minutes. He looked great. It's nuts for me to realize that AJ Styles is 47 years of age and just what a worker, what a talent. But all in all, I had a lot of fun with the Royal Rumble as a PLE. I mean, there was a great ladder match that saw Cody Rhodes retain the WWE title against Kevin Owens. There was a fun 2 out of 3 Falls tag team match where DIY retained their titles against Motor City Machine Guns. All in all, the Rumble, I had a lot of fun. I really, really did have a lot of fun. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what your favorite match was, what your favorite moment was. If you are as surprised as me about Jey Uso Yeet winning the Royal Rumble. Yeah, absolutely crazy scenes. Now, let's round things out today, and let's round things out with an interesting story that WWE is set to go head-to-head with AEW on a weekly basis. I can feel the comments already. I can feel the trolls on both sides spewing vitriol at each other. Let's just like wrestling, guys. Let's just enjoy wrestling. But as announced during the Royal Rumble, WWE will soon be premiering a new series that will be WWE Evolve. It will premiere on Tubi. I love the Tubi service, man. I've only discovered it in the last like 4, 5, 6 months. There's a little free app on my PlayStation, and it's just got all kinds of awful horror movies that I get such a kick out of. Anyway, yes, WWE Evolve will be premiering on Tubi on March the 5th and will run head-to-head against AE Dynamite every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. The first taping will take place on Friday the 7th of February, which is this coming Friday. It doesn't. I presume that's going to be a pattern going forward, that they'll maybe tape it around SmackDowns or Raws, I guess, as well. But anyway, premieres on the March the 5th. First taping this coming Friday. And now Evolve was, of course, an independent promotion previously owned by Gabe Sapolsky, becoming, I guess, a little bit of a feeder system for WWE. I mean, it very much was its own beast, but there were so many people at one point in time that came into Evolve and then would end up in WWE. There was a lot of the best talent on the indies were there. I mean, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Raquel Rodriguez, Austin Theory, even Drew McIntyre, the spell there, Timothy Thatcher, Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, Sami Callihan, all people that came through the door of Evolve and would end up at some point in time in WWE. The point being, Evolve was a bit of a big deal back in the day, launching in 2010, I think it was 2010, and then bought out by WWE in 2020. And now WWE is bringing back that Evolve name with Gabe Sapolsky again involved in this new series. While WWE hasn't named what talent will be a part of WWE Evolve specifically, the company has stated that the series will showcase in-ring action featuring rising WWE prospects as they look to make it to NXT, SmackDown, and Raw. There was like a 30-second clip where you got to see several wrestlers who, I guess you'd say, were low on the totem pole of NXT. Some of them who haven't really even been on TV. It seems like it's going to be a little bit like NXT Level Up in some regards, I guess would be one comparison, although with maybe a little bit more emphasis on actual stories than NXT Level Up, because for the most part, Level Up was just, here's a match, watch these people wrestle. Whereas by all accounts, I think that Evolve will, here's a match, watch these people wrestle, but there is actually something going on and a little bit more, and there's a story and shenanigans. So yes, let us know what you think about WWE running directly up against AEW Dynamite. Do you think WWE Evolve will have an effect on those Dynamite ratings? I mean, of course, things didn't go so well for the NXT brand when that previously aired on Wednesdays against Dynamite, but then that was a very, very different NXT to what we have now. Those dark days, I say dark days, those neon-lit dark days of NXT 2.0. So yeah, let us know what you think about WWE Evolve going up against Dynamite. That's, again, that's gonna... I could only imagine what the sickos are thinking and typing, and right now it's I don't know. Anyway, it's a Sunday morning. I've had way too much coffee and way too much greasy bacon. So I'm going to go and do some other work or maybe try and sleep. Who knows? But with that, that brings today's solo Sunday news to a close. This has been What Culture Wrestling. I've been Andrew Pollard. Be well, be safe, and I will catch you next weekend.